Hello, my name is Maricel Hernandez. I am a PhD student in computer science in the CICESE Research Center. On behalf of my co-authors Ana Martinez and Karina Caro, I will present our work entitled Emotion4Down, a serious video game for supporting emotional awareness of people with Down syndrome. Emotional competencies are a set of knowledge, abilities, skills, and attitudes necessary to understand, express, and regulate emotional phenomena appropriately. There are 5 emotional competencies. In particular, emotional awareness refers to identifying our own emotions and giving them a name using an adequate emotional vocabulary. Among the emotional characteristics of people with Down syndrome is the difficulty in recognizing some emotions through facial expression and expressing their own emotions. Having an adequate development of these skills can help them avoid emotional problems such as anxiety and depression and prevent behaviors that affect their physical and mental health and labor and social inclusion. The literature suggests several activities to work the emotional competencies. These activities are characterized by being designed to be carried out in the school classroom as games. The use of games in children with Down syndrome is important since it is one of the strategies used to develop their attention and motivation from an early age. For this reason, the literature proposed the use of serious video games to support the development of different skills in people with Down syndrome. The primary purpose of serious video games is to support the development of specific player skills, such as improving learning or understanding new concepts. We designed the Emotion4Down video game, a serious video game to support the emotional awareness of people with Down syndrome. In this short paper, we report a validation session conducted with 2 human-computer interaction experts and a psychologist to determine the design considerations that will be implemented in the final prototype of the video game. We also report the design considerations that emerge from all the design sessions and the design validation. Finally, we report the improved design of Emotion4Down as a high-fidelity prototype and its implementation details. In the design process of Emotion4Down, we follow the stages of the design thinking methodology. In the first stage, we conduct a contextual study in 4 centers that provide educational and cognitive therapies to people with Down syndrome. Subsequently, we analyze the information using qualitative techniques such as open and axial coding in stage 2. In the third stage, we conduct 4 design sessions from which a low fidelity prototype was obtained. The prototype was validated by special education teachers, HCI experts, and a psychologist during the prototype and test stage. We validate a low-fidelity Emotion4Down prototype with 2 experts in HCI and a psychologist through a focus group. The main topics addressed during the validation session were the flow in which the video game activities and reinforcers will be present, the types of reinforcers, and the image of the faces used in each activity. Some of the results indicated that therapists should choose the order of the available activities, and in activity number 4, the video game should use a watermark as a canvas on the screen to facilitate players to finalize the activity of creating a selected emotion. Besides, in each activity, the video game should show the same image about the selected emotion on the next attempt when the player is performing the activity incorrectly. From the results of the validation session, we obtain a list of aspects to be considered in the redesign of the Emotion4Down Live Fidelity prototype. The final design features were obtained and implemented in a high-fidelity video game prototype. Some of the features are that the therapist can customize the type of image and emotions. There are 7 different emotions, and different partial and final reinforcers can be selected for each player. The player can practice his emotion through 4 activities. In activity number 1, the player must select the face that represents the emotion he/she is working on and bring it by dragging it to the canvas located on the left side of the screen. Activity number 2 shows a situation where the selected emotion is expressed using video. The player has to recognize the given emotion and select it from the options that appear at the bottom of the screen. In activity number 3, the player must select the eyes and mouth that correspond to that emotion and complete the face on the left side of the screen. Finally, activity number 4 uses the mobile device camera. The player has to imitate the motion of the face shown on the right side of the screen. The video game detects when the player correctly performs the requested motion. Finally, positive reinforcement is used throughout the video game. Different partial reinforcers can be selected from each activity, and a final reinforcer is displayed once the player has completed all the activities of the game. In conclusion, we conduct a design validation session with HCI experts and a psychologist, where the design considerations obtained in the 4 previous design sessions were iterated. Based on the results of these sessions, a list of design considerations was obtained to implement a high-fidelity prototype of the video game. We plan to conduct a usability evaluation involving people with Down syndrome and intellectual disabilities. As a future work, we will use the usability evaluation results to iterate on the design and thus conduct a long-term evaluation to validate how Emotion4Down can support the emotional awareness of people with Down syndrome.